When you are working with shapes and trying to line them up or evenly space items apart, use the Align panel. Notice we have 4 shapes here that are not aligned, as seen by their staggered stance. Make sure your selection tool is selected by pressing V on the keyboard. You can select the shapes you want to align by holding down the Shift key to select each shape. Or use the selection tool to click and drag a marquee that touches all the elements you want to select. With your shape selected, go to your Properties panel. Look at Align. Our first 3 deal with alignment on the horizontal axis. Now, I know that can be confusing because the lines you see represented in the icons are vertical, but remember that horizontal alignment deals with the x-axis that runs left and right. So if I want to align all these items based on their leftmost edge, let me explain what Illustrator is looking for in the alignment. Illustrator is going to see which of your selected elements has the furthermost left edge as its reference. In this case, it's the rectangle. So in my Align panel, when I select Align Left, the left edge of all items are now perfectly aligned. Again, it used the rectangle as the reference. In my Align panel, if I select the horizontal, or left and right, center, Illustrator will shift our selected shapes to move along the horizontal axis, left and right, to align along their center points. If I choose Align Right, again, Illustrator will look for the selected object with the furthest right edge and move all the selected objects to align with that edge, in this case, the rectangle. Now the same principles apply if we arrange these in a horizontal line to align based on their vertical top, center, or bottom. Vertical deals with the y-axis, and that goes from top to bottom or up and down. With your object selected, in your Align panel, click Align Top. As before, Illustrator is looking to see which selected shape has the topmost edge and aligns all other selected shapes to it. If I select the Vertical Align Center options, Illustrator will shift our selected shapes to move along the vertical axis up and down to align along their center point. If I choose Align Bottom, Illustrator will look for the selected object with the bottommost edge and move the selected objects to align with that edge. In addition to alignment, Illustrator can also distribute your shapes so there is an equal amount of space between them. Use the Selection tool to draw a marquee to select your shapes. Now go to your Properties panel. In Align, click the More button represented by the 3 dots in the lower right corner. Since our current shapes are lined up left to right horizontally, let's look at the Distribute Horizontally options on the right. And let's start with the easiest. Since all of these shapes are the same width, let's choose Horizontal Distribute Center. Now, what Illustrator does is that it looks at the leftmost and rightmost selected objects and considers those your anchor points. Using their center points, it does the math to decide how to evenly distribute the remaining objects in between. And because we set to use the center point as a reference, I can draw a line to show you that the center of each object is evenly spaced from the center of another. Now, for the other distribution options of left and right, it's going to be easier to show you this with awkward shapes of different widths. I'm going to select the shapes, go to my Properties panel, and in Align, I'm going to click the More button represented by the 3 dots in the lower right corner. This time, I'm going to select Distribute Left. Notice what happened. Now, I know it doesn't look like everything is evenly spaced, but again, think about what we said was our reference point, the left edge. Oddly enough, each item is actually perfectly spaced from the left edge of one object to another. And this would do the same thing if we chose to distribute from the right edge. For vertical objects, it's pretty much the same thing. Illustrator will use your top and bottommost selected shapes as anchors and distribute the space of the other selected objects evenly between them. Since all these shapes are the same height, choose Vertical Distribute Center. And for this floating staircase where each rectangle is the same width, I can then distribute the space evenly horizontally among the center. Again, when working with distribute, it works best when dealing with objects the same width or height. And remember, the two outermost objects that you have selected, those are your anchor points or your reference points that Illustrator will use to evenly distribute all the other items you have selected between those. So there you have it, align and distribute.